If you look at my 2025 on paper, I accomplished nothing. I'm in the same house, same city, same relationship status. My social media numbers, well, they're flat. But if you knew me and looked at my character, I am genuinely a completely different person than I was last year. And sometimes the years where we do nothing are the years I think that you actually become someone. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Get In, You Are Driving. I'm Maria, and this podcast is where I tell you a lot that life is tough, but you are tougher. And I'm here to help you get back into control with one honest truth and one small step at a time. So, we are 48 hours away from the new year. Wow, wow, wow. And that means that the world is usually screaming at us right now to optimize, level up, to set goals that are bigger and louder than last year. And yeah, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. There's a lot of pressure that comes with make 2026 your year. And if you're like most people and like me, maybe you're sitting back looking at your 2025 and you're feeling a bit behind, right? Maybe you didn't get to launch a business. Maybe you didn't get a promotion. Maybe you didn't hit the income goal you maybe you didn't move cities, maybe you didn't get engaged, or yeah, you just aren't where you thought you would be, right? We all know that this pressure to like have proof and very visible, measurable proof that you're moving forward is very real. And I very much so can do this to myself a lot. So I understand the sentiment. But here's what I want to challenge today. And I want to challenge that definition of progress. And I'm going to be looking at like this year. Again, how I entered this from the beginning, my external life looks stagnant. Like on paper, I technically did nothing, but internally, I think I was doing some of the hardest, maybe most important work of my life. I truly cannot tell you how difficult this year was from like a healing, psychological, emotional point of view because I stopped running from a lot of really uncomfortable feelings. I started kind of accepting the darker parts of myself and trying to channel them into release and like positivity. And I started showing up to my own life instead of performing. And I wouldn't say even performing for someone else. I actually think I was performing for myself. And I also chose to let go of a lot of guilt this year, guilt for just sitting still and being peaceful. And I chose rest, even though there was still a lot of like hustle in my brain fighting me. And I felt like the only option, as I have been trained to think, like, no, how do I put this? I chose rest, but mostly like in my brain, I still like wasn't choosing it like I wanted to choose it. But I think the reason because of this is because I have been trained so long to just think that productivity was what made me worth it. And yeah, I think a lot of people deal with that. And this year, I really decided to be like, you know what? I actually want to prioritize my intuition over everything else and what I'm feeling. And yeah, I think that slowly but surely, because at first I did not want to slow down. But when I finally was slowing down, I learned that slowing down isn't doing nothing. And maybe sometimes it's the best and the bravest and the most exhausting work you'll ever do. Because let me tell you, I slowed down but a girly has still been like mentally and emotionally exhausted. So here's the thing, and this is what I want you to get out of this. The best comparison you can make is you to you, not you to other people's social media and the highlight reel, not you to your friends, not you to somebody who got a job promotion, not you to whatever else is going on. You to you. Because again, if I compare who I am now to who I was a year ago, I'm so different how I react, how I show up, how I think about things, the way I've treated myself when my life got difficult. Like, again, there's just been so much change. But the thing is, it's been internal work and not external work. And again, I think, in my opinion, we prioritize a lot of external work too much. And I'm guessing here, but I bet that maybe the same is true for you, right? You think a lot about external factors in your life, but perhaps not internal factors and your character. So this is ending up being a super long intro. But if you're sitting here feeling like you wasted a year, I want to offer you a different lens because maybe you don't even feel like it was last year. Maybe you feel like it was like a lot of your life. I want to show you that because you might have, sorry, I'm tripping up on my words here because I'm talking too fast. I want to show you a different way to look at this because I think when you rest, you might have just done some of the most important work you could ever do. And again, a lot of moving forward isn't necessarily something we can see and measurably count. So, before you write a single resolution for 2026, we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're not jumping straight into goals, even though I love goals. I'm such a girly. Such a girly. I'm such a goalie. Like, I really do love doing that, but I want to go deeper. So, first, we're going to pause to think of where we actually are right now and really think about that for a minute. And then I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me at the grocery store that exposed my addiction to always being in a freaking rush and living my life on autopilot, and honestly, what was deteriorating my self trust. Then we're going to talk about the lesson I learned when I traveled this past year alone for 3 months around Europe, which is that you can change your job, you can change your city, you can change your relationship status, but you can't run your internal state. And then finally, I'm going to give you a tool called Where You Are in the World, which is a Substack essay that I wrote. And it's basically how you turn a simple check in to help you understand your internal state before you start planning your year. So if you feel like you did nothing this year or ever, or whatever it is, this episode is your proof that you might actually have done everything that actually matters. So let's get into it. Also, okay, all right, so we're starting. And I have a new microphone, and I think it's going to be so much better than my other one. So I'm excited, and I'm doing video again, but I'm testing out like new softwares for it because a big reason that I didn't want to do videos was because I felt like I had nowhere good to film. So I'm just here in my very plain room videoing, but I think I really like the software that I'm using. All right, so let's get started with the reflection block. Now, I want to be clear about something. When I say I slowed down this year, I don't want you to picture like a peaceful, romantic montage of me reading books by a window. Yes, that happened, but only like a little bit. To me, slowing down personally, and this is me, it didn't feel like peace at all. It felt like absolute worthlessness. It felt like stagnancy. It felt like just doing nothing, which for me, this is a very scary feeling. I just so genuinely have always hated the feeling of doing nothing. And deep down, I've always known that I was in a rush all the time. Like, I've always known that I'm go, 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 and that I am addicted a bit to like stimulation. I mean, how can I not be? I'm Gen Z. But this year, life just decided with the way things turned out to show me over and over and over again that I was safe, that my needs were going to be provided for, and that I didn't need to like run and hustle from this like scared point of view of like, oh my gosh, if I don't do more, I'm going to end up homeless. Like, it sounds ridiculous when you say that, but it is kind of like how your body and nervous system is reacting, right? And yeah, my body didn't believe I was safe, right? It just didn't. So, my first clue was the grocery store incident that I told you I wanted to talk about. Anyways, it was a super normal day. I was just getting my groceries like a girly does at Mercadona here in Spain. And I was bagging them as she was scanning. And nothing, we had like this nice little rhythm. She was scanning, I was grabbing. She was scanning, I was grabbing. And yeah, I was just go, go, go. Like, I wasn't even necessarily like looking at her. And then there I was, like, I put my arm out to grab and I felt like a tug. And then I looked over at her and we were both like tugging on this bag of potatoes. And we both looked at each other. One, she looked at me like I was crazy, and we just started laughing. We started laughing so hard because mostly at me, because I was going so fast, not paying attention that she hadn't weighed them yet. So ready to like take them out of her hand. And yeah, like there we were, like yanking on it. And again, we just started laughing because we were both like, what are you doing, woman? Like, slow down. And honestly, we kind of laughed for like 30 seconds about that. That's a lot when you're in a line and someone's waiting behind you, and there was definitely people waiting. And we just sat there and we laughed, and it was just so pure and it was so funny. In that trance of laughter, I genuinely thought to myself, Maria, what are you doing? Like, it was just another sign of like, oh my gosh, see, this rushing thing all the time, it's a problem. Like, where are you trying to go? Who are you trying to fight for potatoes? Like, again, it was, I think, a sign that mentally I've known I'm safe, I'm fine, but my body like doesn't feel that way. And it was just another sign of like, for the love of God, slow down. You are safe. Like, be present. So, yeah, that was my first context clue. Then came my next context clue, which is this 3-month trip that I took around Europe. And just so this is a bit clear, I work a remote job, so I can work from anywhere. So it wasn't that I was just like for 3 months not doing anything. And yeah, I did have this incredible opportunity to do this and just be in these beautiful cities this year. And I think, and the naive part of me thought that the scenery would fix the feeling and the ache I have just been feeling for a while now about many things in my life that is not the time to get into. But what I realized in those cities, and specifically this happened in a park in Vienna. I loved the parks in Vienna. They brought me so much serenity. Anyways, what I realized is wherever you go, there you are. And again, I was being forced to slow down since I was alone for all of these 3 months. I was going out to events and doing things with people, but not a ton. Like, and again, it's kind of like more superficial, right? Because yes, I was going out talking to people, but I didn't have like any of my good friends around me. So yeah, I was 3 months by myself. And again, I felt like life was mocking me somehow and like just again forcing me to slow down. But this time I wasn't there to laugh it off with the cashier. Like this time it wasn't this quick like, okay, yeah, I need to slow down. It was like a deeply sad thing about me and just my whole world was changing during that time in my life and I just didn't know how to process it. So I was just again forced with having to look within myself. I was forced to look at the past versions of who I was that were really no longer serving me. And I was just forced to feel a lot of pain that I don't think I had been intentionally running away from, but more unaware of for a lot of years in my life. Because I am very intentional and I don't just run away from things, but this was a lot of pain that I really didn't know was affecting my behavior until much later. And yeah, this wasn't romantic. It was painful and it was suffocating and I was very, very alone. And if it wasn't for the beauty of the three cities I was in, I think I would have just, anyways. But yeah, I realized that you can take your problems to Vienna, you can take your trauma to Copenhagen, another city I went to, and you can take your family wounds to Budapest because that was the third city. You are where you are, right? Like you don't check in your pain and all your baggage. It comes with you. And yeah, I was really dealing with a lot of things internally. And here's the thing, whenever I was in those emotional states of like anxiousness, restlessness, moving, panicking, thinking I need to do more, they always kind of went back to the same thing and the same emotional what was the good word for that? I was always going back to the same emotional patterns. No, not emotional patterns, like just things that had been on my mind emotionally. There's a word for this that I learned from a podcast that I listened to and now I can't remember. Anyways, but the sentiment was the same deep down. It was, I have accomplished nothing. I have all these goals that I have to get done. And because I'm accomplishing nothing, I'm lazy and I'm useless and my life isn't going to where I would like to go. And I'm useless and I'm wasting my time. Like that was my current emotional, sorry, this is what I wanted to say. That was my current, no, reoccurring emotional state. This. Okay, yeah, so I want to be super clear. Pay attention to your reoccurring emotional states. And this was mine. I have goals. I have accomplished nothing. I'm so useless. I'm so stupid. Like that was what I was telling myself all year. And again, life was forcing me to stop thinking about that and to stop looking at my to do list because I'm such a to do freak and to look within. And just again, these questions of, well, how do you feel? Why are you scared of this? This hurts you. Like, let's look at it. And I really was just refusing. Like, I would think about it for 5 minutes, but then I would go back to, no, I need to do something. And again, I don't think I was running away intentionally, but I was like still not accepting it. Like, I wanted to make new lists. I kept telling myself, once I finish this, I'll deal with it. Well, once I make more money, well, once I hit my milestone, then I'll slow down. Like, I don't have the luxury to slow down. But again, it just felt like everything that was happening in my life just wasn't letting me off the hook. So finally, after being super stubborn, and this happened in Vienna, which this was June, so 6 freaking months in, I decided that, okay, this is probably going to be a year that is about my internal state and not my external state. And this is why this year felt to me like I have accomplished nothing because I wasn't building my resume. I wasn't making more money. I wasn't moving forward in an apartment I wanted to move in. I was dismantling defense mechanisms. I was letting go of the girl and trying to become the woman. I was trying to figure out how to stabilize my view on the world. I was sorting out how to not be emotionally reactive, like so many things that had to do with my past. And this brings me to the question that I want to ask you today. And I heard this from a fashion creator called Vivian Audi, who doesn't do anything personal development wise, but she just shared this story. And it was about her grandmother and how her grandmother would ask her the question, "Where are you in the world?" And she didn't mean like, "Are you in New York or London?" She meant, "Where are you internally? Like, can I reach you?" And I also think connecting back to what I said before of like, what has been your reoccurring emotional state? Like, are you lost in chaos? Do you miss your grandmother that died? Like, is life hard for you right now? Like, again, whatever your emotional state is, that's kind of what the question entails. And, I really liked the question. I wrote a whole Substack piece on it because it really made me think deeply. Looking back in my year, I wasn't in Vienna, Budapest, or Copenhagen. I was in anxiety. I was in rushing. I was in hyper independence. I was in pain. And even though I was externally in these cities, internally, and what I was experiencing was that. And I really think that you can't build a life or a new year if you don't know like where you're starting and what these like deeper behavioral things are revealing about you, because I very much so feel that and believe that what we feel on the inside is what we exude on the outside. And, even though I didn't want to slow down, I did intuitively know that these internal beliefs that I had about myself were absolutely affecting all those external things that I wanted. So, okay, we just did part one, which is the reflection block. And now I'm going to take a sip of my Coke. So good. And we're going to get into the practical block because I try to make this podcast super like, okay, what I've learned, what life has showed me, but then I really want to make it practical for people to be able to make these changes, right? Because at the end of the day, what was that? My chin or like my throat made the weirdest noise. Anyways, okay, so the practical side. If you're sitting there realizing that you don't know where you actually are right now, or worse, I don't want to say worse, maybe that you've been like running on autopilot like me, right? What do we do? And I think most people would probably tell you to push through. And there's a lot of truth in that, but that's not what I want to like get into today. And yeah, to set 2026 goals that force you out of that state. But I want to offer you something different because I think goals are great. They really are, because you need those micro steps to get to where you're going. And I want to make my next episode about actually how to do that and how I personally do it. But I want to dig deeper and think about behavioral patterns and your background and your past and how that might be really affecting you. So, before you write a single resolution for 2026, I want you to do an internal coordinate audit since this podcast is getting you out driving. I tried to do my car puns, and can I just say, I was doing my car pun titles for forever and I loved it, but then I finally got hit in the face with, yeah, but Maria, these titles aren't really like SEO friendly and what people are looking for. And yeah, but yeah, I try to still say like things while I'm filming. Okay, so we're going to find out exactly where you are so that you don't spend another freaking minute running from whatever it is you need to stop running from. So step one is maybe find your grocery store moment, because I feel like we do consciously know, okay, I shouldn't do this, I should stop that, but then we don't do it until like we're just smacked in the face with it. And maybe just think about your life in the last month. Where were you unable to sit still? Was it maybe in your car? Do you always have your music blasting the second you turn it on? Did something happen in the shower? Like, do you stop in the shower and think, like, do you need a podcast playing just to wash your hair? Like, ask yourself, where am I rushing just to avoid feeling? And this manifests in people very, very differently. A lot of times it can manifest in alcohol and drugs. It can manifest in being social all the time and out of your house and never taking a time to sit still. In me, it manifested in needing constant mental stimulation. Like, well, I either need to be reading a book, listening to a podcast, with my friends, scrolling through TikTok, writing a Substack, and very rarely do I just let myself sit and just be. And interestingly enough, you know where I let myself sit and be watching TV, which is why I actually don't like watching TV. And I really struggle because I'm watching the show, but then I'm like, oh, wait, this and that and that and that. And then like these uncomfortable feelings arise. Anyways, so I just want you to sort out my computer is dying. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, because see, now I'm using my computer to film. So can you imagine if it died? And anyways, so I really want you to think, where am I rushing to avoid feeling? And it's probably going to be an autopilot behavior like me. And this is your clue. This is where the discomfort is hiding. Okay. So think about that. Step two is naming where you actually are. If we take away your job title, your relationship status, your bank account, whatever it may be, who are you right now? How do you feel? Are you in grief? Are you in exhaustion? Are you in hope? Are you stuck? Are you waiting? This year I realized I was very much so in healing and a little bit of stuckness that I was allowing. And let's stick with healing though. I think when you're in healing, you cannot run at the same pace as someone who is in a harvest. I very much so think life is seasonal. So, like these words that I'm using of waiting, healing, harvest, stuck, exhaustion, like these are seasonal things, right? Like they come, they go, they don't last forever. So, again, when you're in healing, you cannot run at the same pace as someone who is perhaps in harvest. And that's okay. And maybe stop trying to force whatever season you're wanting or output when you're in a current season. Because I feel like I was really trying to push harvest and something happening, but life kept showing me, no, 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 you're in healing. You are in healing. You're only going to break yourself if you do this. So, all right, that was step two. Now, step three, I want you to find the invisible win. Because if you look at, again, my year and why I'm sharing this on paper, I really did nothing. Truly, I did nothing. But my invisible win is that I can now stand in a grocery store line and be present and bag my groceries. My invisible win is that I can sit in a park alone and face the discomfort in my chest without running away from it. Invisible win is that for the first time in my life, when I was in pain, I asked for my friends to help me and I told them everything that was going on instead of doing what I've always done, which is self soothing and not sharing because of my awful fear of being a burden. This was so bad for me. No, none of my friends, and I have such amazing friends, until 2 months ago, have I actually shared with them how much I was going through and like really opened up to them about big things going on in my life. I didn't do that until 2 months ago. So a huge invisible win. And yeah, these are just a few examples. So again, what is your invisible win? What did you maybe heal this year that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet? And again, what did you do all in all this year that maybe just isn't super visible on the outside, but could be visible on the inside? And I think that that is your foundation for 2026. Not more money, not more followers, not more whatever, but that. Because at the end of the day, like if you're dying on the inside, like what else matters? What else matters if you hate your job, you hate your life, you hate the relationship you're in? Like what else matters? Like tackle that. And I'm not saying it's going to be an easy tackle. It has been a freaking painful year, but tackle it and do that because you care about yourself? All right, we're coming to a close. Here's something that I want you to do this week. Tonight or sometime before the ball drops, depending on where you are in the world and how you're going to spend your New Year's, I just want you to take a few minutes and I want you to turn your phone off and put it in the other room. I want no noise, no podcast. And I want you to either do this on a piece of paper or do it on your laptop, whatever. And I want you to write the question down of where am I in the world? And I really want you to think about what have been your reoccurring emotional states. Yeah, don't write down I'm in Chicago. Like really write down the truth. I'm tired, or I don't feel good enough to go after what I want, or I'm not ready for this. Like just really think about it. And again, if you don't like writing, maybe even do it on your phone and pull up an Apple Note. I know everybody is different, but sit with these emotions and meet yourself there because you can't move forward if you refuse to acknowledge where you're starting from and what you're feeling right now. And yeah, so what I want to leave you with is the only person you need to compare yourself to is you. That's it. if you compare who you are now to who you were a year ago, and just again, it can be internal or external. Like this year for me was super internal, but maybe this year it was for you super external. But again, only compare you to you. Try to think about where you have progressed. And if you haven't, this year you know will. Like don't be upset about it. It's in the past. Now you know, because this is what matters. And again, I know for me, this year I made so much internal progress. And I think so much of us don't do this ever. Like our society really does prioritize these external things that everybody can see. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like you can't be like, oh my gosh, my win is yes, I now don't have this trauma bond or whatever. I mean, you can, but it's not as easy as saying, oh yeah, I got a raise. And again, I think a lot of this is just as a society, we don't pause, we don't look within, we just keep moving, keep adding, we keep running, we keep going. And then we're exhausted, and at some point like we break down because it's all too much and we've hit our breaking point. And this year was my breaking point. And I never valued this kind of work until like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm still trying to value slowing down. I mean, it's a work in progress. But this year and like seeing how I've reacted to difficult things, to pain, to uncertainty, it's changed so much. And in that sense, I've become so much stronger. But again, if life really hadn't like forced me to sit down, I don't know where I would be. So, yeah, slow down because you really do have to face past versions of yourself. And yeah, some years and sometimes and some season, you're not going to have an external product to show for your year. And that's totally okay. Like I said in the beginning, I love goals. I think they're incredible. I think they get you to where you want to go. And I think you should set them with every area in your life: money, career, health, fitness, all of it. But what I've learned is that if you only focus on the external and never really look on the inside, those goals aren't even going to feel like wins. You're going to get there and then you're probably going to like hate something because of your internal state. Like, this is just what I've seen happen again and again. Because honestly, if you got everything you wanted tomorrow and you had to go through no work, no pain, nothing, who would you be? Who would you be? Then life would be so easy. Like your character would go through nothing. Your persona would go through nothing. You would have no stories to tell. Like, the best things in life are the things that you don't have, you have to work for, right? Like, yeah, if you really just got everything you wanted to be tomorrow, like, okay, yeah, that's great, but then what? Like life truly is about the journey and not the destination. And I feel like the real meaning of life and who we are has to do with who we are on the inside and who our character is. Like, I really care a lot about character, and I personally think it's the most important thing. So, yes, set your goals, but also ask yourself, who do I need to become to sustain those goals? How do I need to show up differently? What do I need to heal or release to actually enjoy what I build? Because in life, you're going to go through many, many things, external things. And in life, as we all know it, it's hard. But the only thing that I really think that can't be stripped away from you is the trust you have built within yourself, the character no one can take away from you, like the things that you know out of experience. Again, no matter what happens in life, those internal things can never be stripped away. But everything external, like titles, money, that can all be taken away. Even other people. People decide if they want to be in our lives, right? So think about it like that. All right, guys, I'm wishing you all the best for 2026. Truly, all the best. And I will catch up with you next year. And as I always say, life is tough, but you are tougher. And yeah, catch you in the next episode. Thank you.